I feel like I'm forgetting? I feel like I'm always forgetting something here. Tropical punch, that'll work. Hi, everybody. Chuck Holton here. How's it going? I am coming to you from my studio in Panama, and I always have to have a drink before I go live. As you know, oh, what in the world is that? Wasn't what I expected. I always have to have a drink before I go live because my voice is pretty much shot. And people complain about it, and I'm sorry. But look, if you can listen to the Secretary of Health and Human Services, Robert Kennedy, then you can probably listen to me because I'm not near as bad as he is. That guy sounds, or who was that lady on? I think it was Diane Reams. Yeah, on NPR. She had real bad problems with her voice. And we always called her Dying Reams. Now I know what that feels like. Okay, so good seeing all of you today. Please do me a favor and post in the chat where you're watching from. Day 20 of the war in Iran, and it is still ramping up. It's not actually tapering off by any meaningful measurement. As a matter of fact, Pete Hegseth came out this morning and said we're still hitting records every day for the number of targets we've hit. The IDF came out and said they've hit 8,500 targets, and 8,500 targets so far in this. They're not even half done. Iran's a big country. They're not even half done. Take a listen to what Hegseth had to say.
7,000 targets across Iran and its military infrastructure. That is not incremental. That is overwhelming force applied with precision. And again, today will be the largest strike package yet, just like yesterday was. As I've said from day one, our capabilities continue to build. Iran's continue to degrade. We're hunting and striking death and destruction from above. Iran's air defenses flattened. Iran's defense industrial base, the factories, the production lines that feed their missile and drone programs, being overwhelmingly destroyed. We've hit hundreds of their defense industrial bases directly. Their ability to manufacture new ballistic missiles has probably taken the hardest hit of all. Ballistic missile attacks against our forces, down 90% since the start of the conflict. Same with one-way attack UAVs. Think kamikaze drones, down 90%. Now, the Iranians will still shoot, we know that, but they would shoot a lot more if they could, but they can't. The last job anyone in the world wants right now? Senior leader for the IRGC or Besiege. Temp jobs.
Temp jobs.
All of them. And to borrow a page from Admiral Ernest King in World War II, we've decided to share the ocean with Iran. We've given them the bottom half. We've damaged or sunk over 120 of their Navy ships, with battle damage assessments pending for many more. See, oftentimes we have to wait a few days on battle damage assessment to get the real number. Their surface fleet is no longer a factor. Their submarines, they once had 11, are gone. Their military ports are crippled.
They had 11 submarines, and those submarines are gone. And look, he's in fine form today, isn't he? Saying that we'll share the ocean with the Iranian Navy. They can have the bottom half. That's actually going back to World War II. But the IDF is assisting with that. We're still striking boats in and around Iran. Have a video of them doing that. This is from U.S. CENTCOM, striking ships just in the last 24 hours. So they're finding and fixing and finishing more of these boats than they have before. So it's good to see that they are continuing, and they're not running out of targets. There have been some talk about that, oh gosh, there's no targets left. President Trump joked about that. There are certainly lots of targets left, lots, and they're not half done yet. Now, before we go any further, I want to talk about something that's very important to me, and this is not a sponsorship. This is not, one of our typical sponsors. This is the Young Men's Leadership Academy that I'm starting because as I have gone around the world and taught and spoken, I've got a speaking engagement this weekend up in Wisconsin, I have seen lots and lots of, let's say, just, teenage guys and older college age guys. And I have to say, in America, they're not that impressive anymore. It's hard to find a young man who can look you in the eye when he talks to you, who can, go 30 seconds without staring at his phone, who can, get up and go help the men if there's something that needs to be done, especially if it's a dirty or uncomfortable job. And that's partially because it's our own fault. We've raised our sons like pets, like poodles, just stay on the couch. Don't do anything dangerous. Just be good. Play your video games. And we want to change that. So this August, we're running a field leadership course at my place in West Virginia, up in the mountains, where we're going to get your sons outside. We're going to teach them some real world skills that will make them more useful in a crisis. And we're going to pour into them godly wisdom for 7 days. And it's going to be life-changing for the men that come. Now, this is not a scared straight program. This is not one of those programs for adjudicated youth or something like that. Those are fine, but that's not what this is for. This is for guys who want to be there and want to be leaders. And so if you have a son or a grandson that you would like to see spend a week with me and my sons and some other veterans that we're bringing in, then go to frontierforge.org and check out our website. You can get all the information you need about the camp there. And it's August 2nd through the 9th of this year in Southern West Virginia. So do me a favor, pass that along to anybody you know that's got young men. We still have about 5 slots available, I think, for this year's camp. And so we're trying to get those filled as soon as possible. But it is desperately needed in today's world. I'm going to be putting out more videos about that topic as time goes on. But anyway, so the big news out of the war in Israel is that the Israelis struck the world's largest natural gas field yesterday, which is called the South Pars gas field. It's a natural gas field that Iran shares with Qatar. And I'm going to show you on the map here. Let's go over to the map. We'll share this one. Where's my map? Do you see that, Nathan? Oh, here it is. Yep, there it is. Okay, so this is the South Pars refinery complex. This is on an island, obviously, off the coast of Iran. But again, this is shared with Qatar over here. I'm not sure exactly how that works, but they must have a pipeline that goes across or something. And the natural gas gets processed here. Here's the thing. The gas that's coming in here has to be processed before it can be useful. And Iran has more natural gas than any country on earth. And they love to talk about that, but they don't actually process a lot of it for external consumption, meaning, putting it out. Let's see if there's some good pictures of this place. Putting it out for the rest of the world. They consume most of it internally. And the strike that Israel made on this gas field was extremely limited and meant to send a message. Now, the message that got sent was that it really stirred up the Iranians, and they fired more missiles yesterday than they have almost any day in the last 2 weeks. So we're going into week 3 of this conflict. We're about done with week 3, aren't we? And the Israelis struck the gas field. We'll get rid of that map now. The Iranians were very upset about it, and they struck all over the region other gas fields in the region. They struck in UAE, Qatar, Bahrain, and Kuwait, and Israel. They struck at oil facilities or energy facilities across all of those those countries. And I've got video of, let's see, where's the video? I didn't have room for it, I think. Hold on, I'll pull it up. I've got video of a couple of these strikes. Let's see where it is here. There's one. This one's in Kuwait, I believe. So there are angry dark plumes of smoke rising above all of these countries this morning. That really caused a bit of a panic, and the oil prices spiked. This is interesting. Let's go over here and look at these oil prices, because I want to show you something here. We're going to add this one. There we go. This is the price of various different kinds of oil. And you can see West Texas crude at the top is still trading about 98. That's not much different than it was for the last couple of days. Brent crude, still about the same. These ones, Murban is getting more expensive. But look down here at Mars crude, 119. Now, Mars crude it comes out of Louisiana. And the reason that the price is so different between West Texas crude, which is not that far away from Louisiana, and the stuff that Mars crude is that Mars crude is much heavier and more sour than the crude that comes out of West Texas, which is light and sweet. Also, it's easily accessible because it's right there on the coast. With that in mind, you have to look at the kind of fuel that comes out of the Strait of Hormuz is typically darker, heavier, more sour than the crude that comes out of, let's say, Russia or someplace like that. And as I've mentioned before, the refineries that deal with this stuff are calibrated to one specific kind of crude. So you just imagine a $1 billion machine that's built specifically to burn a certain kind of fuel. And that's what these refineries are. So obviously you wouldn't want to put diesel fuel in a gasoline car. And for the same reason, you don't want to put light sweet crude into a refinery that's meant to process heavy sour crude. So Mars crude is heavy and sour. And so the refineries that need that stuff to create diesel fuel and jet fuel, and that's what they primarily make, are looking for that crude, and they're bidding up the prices. So the stuff in the United States that fits the bill is going to go for a higher price than the stuff that doesn't. Now, as I said, the refineries that use the heavy sour crude make more diesel fuel and jet fuel. The refineries that process the lighter, sweeter crude, they make more industrial products, industrial chemical feedstocks, gasoline, stuff like that. Well, we don't have a shortage of that kind of gas because that's not the kind that comes out of the Strait of Hormuz. And there isn't a spike in the demand for gasoline and other products like that. There is a spike right now in the demand for jet fuel and diesel fuel because of the wars that are going on. A lot of countries are looking for more diesel fuel and jet fuel to run their ships and their trucks and their power plants, things like that. So that's why you see this like sort of split in the prices of the different kinds of oil. All right. Thank you for that super sticker. Not $1.99. Appreciate you. Is that Panama? Oh, I can't. That's too small. Sherpa man. Okay. Thank you for that. Anyway, so Dan Kane, General Kane, gave a update today as well. Let's take a listen to what he had to say.
Remains on plan to achieve our military objectives and remain unrelenting in our pursuit of Iranian missile capabilities, UAV capabilities, and their Navy, and as the Secretary said, their industrial base. Each day we continue to attack deeper into Iranian territory. As reported by U.S. Central Command yesterday, the U.S. military dropped 5,000-pound penetrator weapons into underground storage facilities, storing coastal defense cruise missiles and other support equipment. These weapons are bespokely designed to get through concrete and/or rocks and function after penetrating those barriers. We continue to hunt and kill mine storage facilities and naval ammunition depots. We continue to hunt and kill afloat assets, including more than 120 vessels and 44 mine layers, and the pressure will continue. We're flying further to the east now and penetrating deeper into Iranian airspace to hunt and kill one-way attack garrisons, destroying Iran's ability to project power outside of its borders. The A-10 Warthog is now in the fight across the southern flank and is hunting and killing fast attack watercraft in the Straits of Hormuz. In addition, AH-64 Apaches have joined the fight on the southern flank, and they continue to work on the southern side, and that includes some of our allies who are using Apaches to handle one-way attack drones. In Iraq, AH-64s have been striking against Iranian-aligned militia groups to make sure that we suppress any threat in Iraq against U.S. forces or U.S. interests. And we remain focused on pursuit of any platform that Iran could field to harm Americans or our partners. Last Friday, Admiral Cooper and the CENTCOM team conducted precision strikes against more than 90 targets on Karg Island, which included all of their military-only infrastructure, which included air defenses, naval base, mine storage, and deployment facilities. And as the Secretary mentioned, we continue to strike against Iran's defense industrial base and will continue to do so.
Man, it almost makes it sound like we're winning or something, doesn't it? Now, I wanted to bring this up on the screen here. Sonny says, Iran is getting help. We all know who it is. Yeah, we're going to talk more about that in a minute. So stick around for that, because I've got something important to say on who's helping Iran right now. Now, this strike on the South Pars gas field, again, caused a spike in the energy markets. Israel was essentially sending a message to Iran because they didn't strike the whole thing. It was kind of a targeted strike just on Iran's ability to use that natural gas in Iran. It hasn't affected any of their output going to other countries. It didn't affect the Qatari side. It only affected Iran's ability to use that natural gas for themselves. And what that will translate to, according to Peter Zayan this morning, is in a matter of days, the power is going to start going out around many places in Iran. They are essentially, they struck a weak point in their power grid that supplies a lot of their power generation facilities. And that's going to cause more pain and hardship total on Iran as we try to put more pressure on the IRGC. Obviously, if you put more pressure on the entire country that way by taking away their power, just like we saw in Cuba, you're going to see more likely uprisings and that sort of thing as well inside Iran. So that's really what Israel was aiming at. They were not aiming to completely destroy Iran's infrastructure. They were sending Iran a message that we can completely destroy your infrastructure if you keep bombing, us and the Gulf states. And so Iran didn't get the message. They immediately started bombing everybody in sight. This is, in reality, a very good thing. Very good thing. Number one, when you stir up the hornet's nest like that, you make Iran rush to put out and fire a lot more missiles. When they do that, that gives more targets for the U.S. and Israel to strike. It makes it easier for us to find the missiles launch facilities and blow up the launchers and things like that. So it's kind of like kicking the hornet's nest on purpose. Now, this is where it gets theatrical, because President Trump is apparently very mad that Israel did this. Or is he? Take a look at what he said on Truth Social. He said, Israel, out of anger for what has taken place in the Middle East, has violently lashed out at a major facility known as South Pars gas field in Iran. A relatively small section of the whole has been hit. The United States knew nothing about this particular attack, and the country of Qatar has in no way, shape, or form been involved with it, nor did it have any idea that it was going to happen. Unfortunately, Iran did not know this or any of the pertinent facts pertaining to the South Pars attack, and unjustifiably and unfairly attacked a portion of Qatar's LNG gas facility. No more attacks will be made by Israel pertaining to this extremely important and valuable South Pars field, unless Iran unwisely decides to attack a very innocent, in this case, Qatar. In which instance, the United States of America, with or without the help of or consent of Israel, will massively blow up the entirety of the South Pars gas field at an amount of strength and power that Iran has never seen or witnessed before. I do not want to authorize this level of violence and destruction because of the long-term implications it will have on the future of Iran. But if Qatar's LNG is again attacked, I will not hesitate to do so. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Iran promptly attacked Qatar's LNG facilities, and not only Qatar's, but Bahrain's, Kuwait's, and et cetera, and the UAE. So now, what is Trump saying there? First, it sounds like he's really mad at Israel, and some of his critics are saying that he's throwing Israel under the bus here, and he's claiming that the United States had no knowledge whatsoever of this strike before it went off. Well, okay, I'm going to give the president the benefit of the doubt, and I'm going to say that's not it at all. He's not mad at Israel. He definitely knew about this strike before it happened. The Israelis would not make a strike like that without letting the United States know. And so why would he say that? Why would he put it that way? Why would he almost make Israel the bad guy in that Truth Social post? Well, again, this is political theater that we're seeing playing out before your eyes. Obviously, President Trump is very concerned about the price of oil, and the higher it goes, the worse the pressure gets on President Trump. So this spiked the price of oil like $20 a barrel. That's huge, huge. And President Trump is feeling that, okay? He's also feeling the fact that our Gulf allies are getting pretty tired of this. And there are some reports out there that say that our Gulf allies are starting to grumble somewhat and say, didn't Trump have a plan for this? How come, didn't he know this was going to happen? Now, I think President Trump knew this strike was going to happen, approved the strike, because that's how this works now. Israel struck that to, again, shut off Iran's ability to power some of its power plants, make it more difficult for them to provide electricity for their country. And then President Trump is sort of not backpedaling, but he's trying to save face there in that. But at the same time, he does not condemn Israel for what it did. And he says to Iran, if you strike any more of the other gas fields around you, then we're going to completely destroy the Pars Island. We'll just wipe it off the map. And I really don't want to have to do that. But if you force me to, I will. I think this is the same reason why when we struck Karg Island, we struck 90 military targets, but we studiously avoided striking any of their infrastructure. We know that Iran is going to need that infrastructure very badly after the war. And we don't want to have to pay to rebuild it, because who's going to be paying to rebuild some of this stuff. That's just kind of how it works. The United States ends up getting handed the bill for everything. So this is a kind of a delicate dance. This is a diplomatic theater we're seeing play out here. And take a listen to what President Trump said when he was asked about boots on the ground, especially Karg Island, with these Marines that are coming in.
Sanctions on Iranian oil, and do you intend to potentially put U.S. troops or more troops in the region?
No, I'm not putting troops anywhere. If I were, I certainly wouldn't tell you. But I'm not putting troops, and we will do whatever is necessary to keep the price as well. I actually thought when I did this, look, the Dow just hit 50,000 a couple of weeks ago. They said that couldn't happen for 4 years. It wouldn't happen in my term. It's did that in 1 year, not 4.
I'm going to skip across.
S&P had just hit 70, and we did that in 1 year. So it was all done. Everything was going great. The economy was great. Oil prices were very low. Gasoline was dropping to, we had $1.99, $1.85. We had great everything. And I saw what was happening in Iran, and I said, I hate to make this excursion, but we're going to have to do it. And I actually thought the numbers would be worse. I thought that it would go up more than it did. But we're doing this excursion, and when it's completed, we're going to have a much safer world. And the Prime Minister agrees with me on this. She considers it to be terrible what Iran did. I think every country does, just about every country does. Iran is a serious threat to the world, to the Middle East and to the world.
Yeah, he's very right on all of that. And it was probably the best possible time to undertake this endeavor, as he said, because the markets were high, gas was low. He knew it would have an effect on both of those. Wouldn't want to do that when gas was high and the markets were low. So this was probably the best time. Now, President Trump is hopefully showing enough backbone. I believe he is, to resist the temptation to try to stop the war before it's over. And he's trying to make the case to the American people in his own special way that we need to pay this price now, because it will redound to us many-fold in the future if we do. It'll be much better for not just the United States, but for the whole world if we finish the job. And I completely agree with him on that. Now, I thought it was interesting yesterday to watch Tulsi Gabbard, the Director of National Intelligence, testifying before Congress and testifying that, yes, Iran is a major threat. Yes, Iran was going for a nuclear weapon. Yes, Iran, like all these things, because she's been one of the most vocal critics of an attack on Iran. And she did not think that was a good idea. She was trying to say that they weren't that big of a deal, that they weren't that close to a nuclear weapon. Well, yesterday, just after she spoke, they talked to the director of the CIA and asked him these questions with Tulsi Gabbard sitting right there next to him. And I want to say this because President Trump said something in that quote that I wanted to point out. He said that he thought the effect would be even worse. And that's because many of his advisors had told him that the effects of attacking Iran would be much worse on the price of gas and oil and things like that. If you recall, Tucker Carlson made several trips to the White House before the war started, trying to convince President Trump not to get involved in a war. And there's a very big question of whether or not Tucker Carlson was at least put up to doing that, if not paid to do it, by his handlers in Qatar, et cetera. But nevertheless, Tucker Carlson was saying, as soon as we strike Iran, the Americans are going to be paying $30 for a gallon of gas. Well, that obviously hasn't happened. And there are all these other pundits and right-wing media figures that are in what I call the black pill right or the halal right, who were spouting similar doom and gloom before this. I showed you in one live broadcast that we did where Doug McGregor was saying, if we strike Iran, within days, our entire Navy will be sunk. All of our bases will be destroyed in the region. We'll have thousands of American casualties. Tucker Carlson also said that there would be thousands of American casualties. And of course, none of that has come true. I say all that just to say that President Trump is obviously not surrounding himself with the brightest bulbs in the bunch. When it comes to his foreign policy, many of the decisions he's made on foreign policy have been informed by spectacularly stupid people like Steve Witkoff, people like Tom Barak, who just do not understand or have profit motives on top of the, what they're selling. So, for example, Steve Witkoff, you might not know, his main business partner is a Russian oligarch, billionaire. And that's his main business partner. And it was sanctioned by Ukraine at the beginning of the war because he's pro-Russia. And to have somebody that is that connected to Russian oligarchs being one of the president's top advisors on foreign policy is just a spectacularly bad idea. Okay? So, I mean, the president needs to do better vetting on his people. And we've done other exposés. I'm going to do some more on this, of the people who are hiring or telling the president who he needs to hire. So like Joe Kent, this former Green Beret that just resigned from the National Counterterrorism Center yesterday or day before. And immediately, within 1 hour of submitting his resignation, was booked on Tucker Carlson's show to badmouth the administration, badmouth the war, just say that Israel is calling all the shots. Israel is, running the Pentagon, all that kind of just ridiculous nonsense. Look, for that to happen, let's just call it what it is. This was something that was planned ahead of time. Joe Kent didn't just get tired of his job and decide, you know what, that's it, I'm out, I'm gonna resign. He reached out to people beforehand and had things lined up beforehand. And as it turns out, Joe Kent's wife works for Gray Zone Media, which is essentially a Russian front in the United States. And so there's that. That's a rabbit trail that I could get sucked into. I'm going to do a whole video about it later. But anyway, just to kind of drive the point home, President Trump needs to do a better job of surrounding himself with people who are not, number one, beholden to Russia or China, and number two, have America's best interest at heart. And I don't think some of these people do. Now, Israel, assisting the United States even more yesterday, started striking naval craft and Navy bases on the Caspian Sea. So if we go back over to our map here and we zoom out, and we go way up here on the Caspian, as it turns out, right here in Bandar Ansali, there were ships coming and going. And if you track them, you could see that they were actually coming and going from, oh, look, what do we have up here? That's Russia. And those ships were bringing weapons to Iran, reportedly. Reportedly, the Israelis blew up these ships, and we have some. Oh no, that's in Bandar Abbas. I've got a photo of that, but no, the IDF put out video of them striking these Navy ships that had just come from Russia. And so, how in the world are we lifting sanctions on Russia, giving Russia the benefit of the doubt at every turn, and at the same time, they are providing our enemy in an active war with material support? So is China through Pakistan. Well, it goes back to what I was talking about before. President Trump has some spectacularly bad advisors. There are far too many people in the White House who are part and parcel of this black pill right that I keep talking about. And the Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens wing of the conservative party. And they need to be cleaned out. But unfortunately, I think the guy doing the hiring, for the most part, is one of them. So in his first term, President Trump had to worry about the deep state. Now he's got to worry about his own party, his own people actively working against what's best for America. This is not great, not great. Now, so the CIA chief was asked about all the things that Tulsi Gabbard, who is also one of those, in the black pill right, Tulsi Gabbard had been saying were false, and he said they were true. Take a listen.
To America's destruction, in your opinion?
Yes.
Does the Iranian regime have American blood on their hands since its founding in 1979?
Yes.
Has Iran plotted assassination attempts against Americans on American soil?
Yes.
Was Iran developing a nuclear weapon prior to our military action last June? And did Iran remain committed to developing a nuclear weapon in the lead up to this conflict?
Yes. So I want to clarify on that because there's been much talk about a fatwa against the development of a nuclear weapon.
Can you come back to that 1 second? Let me finish
yeah,
these.
You
That's
bet.
Okay. If left unchecked, do you think Iran would have the ability to develop missiles capable of reaching the United States?
Yes. Did
Israel force the U.S.'s hand and make us take action, as some have claimed?
No.
Director.
So, oh, wait, I missed the best part. Then he asks DNI Gabbard if she agrees with this.
Her assessment on that last question in
Yes.
particular.
She said yes, which is the opposite of what she had said. Whoop, sorry. Stop. Nathan and I are both clicking on those things. Yeah, so that was a very uncomfortable hearing, I believe, for DNI Gabbard. She's been spectacularly wrong on Ukraine and very wrong on Iran, I believe, in the past. Again, kind of following the Russian propaganda talking points. And she's a smart lady, but she has been sucked into this vortex of Russian disinformation. And that just goes to show how powerful this disinformation actually is, how pervasive it is in the United States. As a matter of fact, as I said, I'm making a whole video about that that'll be out tomorrow about this whole topic. You're not going to want to miss that video. This is going to be one of the most important videos I've ever put out. Okay. So we're putting a lot of work into it right now. Sergio's over there working hard on it as we speak. Now, let's see, where are we? 39. All right. Don Bacon was asked about Joe Kent, and here's what he had to say about it.
Resignation letter today. What's your reaction to his reasoning for leaving the administration over the Iran war?
Well, initially, my thought was I respect differences of opinion. I think good people can disagree about the attacks on Iran. I support it for a variety of reasons, which I could go into. But what bothered me was towards like 2/3 in, he was blaming the Israeli lobby for persuading President Trump and that he was beholden to Netanyahu. And it just goes back to some of the oldest anti-Semitic tropes that I see. They go way back, way preceding, centuries, that there's this hidden Jewish cabal running our country. That's what he was tending to. And I didn't like it. I think we should speak up on that. I don't want that in the Republican Party.
You believe it was anti-Semitic, his letter?
I think it was clearly. If you see some of the staff around him that he's had in the past, he's been surrounded with folks who talk like that. But when you blame the Israeli lobby for us going to war to Iran, I have a problem with that. And
So yeah, I totally agree with him on that. Don Bacon's been a pretty staunch ally of America. I mean, as far as his political stances on the various wars, he's got a very clear-eyed view of this, and I totally agree with him. Now, I've kind of flippantly in previous days have said that Iran's missile capability, Iran's ability to threaten Israel, has been degraded to the point where they're really more of a nuisance now than a real threat. Well, I need to recant on that somewhat. They certainly are still a threat. Yesterday there was or I guess this morning, there was a cluster bomb that exploded over Israel, dropped bomblets everywhere. And these cluster bombs are fairly, like a large hand grenade. So if they landed in your car, they would blow up your car. I mean, your car would be a wreck. But they're not going to blow up a house. They're not going to blow up a school or anything like that. They could damage it, but just not destroy it. So I'm just trying to give you a sense for the power of these cluster munitions. But the problem is there's a lot of them. And one of those cluster munitions fell in a Palestinian area of Israel. Because remember, a good portion of people in Israel are not actually Jews. And the cluster munition fell just lucky strike right on a hair salon and killed 4 women. So that brings the total death toll in Israel to, I think, about 20 now since the war started. Now, is that going to move the needle militarily? No. Bombing a Palestinian hair salon is not going to make a difference in the outcome of this war. But it's still a tragedy. And it still proves that Iran has the capability to threaten Israel. As a matter of fact, they've been using a lot more of these cluster munitions. So they're firing fewer missiles, but those missiles are going up and then exploding into fragments in the stratosphere and coming down and essentially carpet bombing areas inside Israel. And these are virtually impossible to intercept all of them, right? So that's a big problem. It's a dilemma for Israel right now. As I said, they don't typically cause a lot of casualties because if you're in a safe area, if you're in a bomb shelter, you're going to be fine from a cluster munition. It's not going to kill you. It's not going to hurt you. These women, many of the Palestinians that live in Israel don't have bomb shelters. They haven't decided to invest the money that they're given in making their people safer like the rest of Israel has. And so those people are at much greater risk. And it's ironic here that the Muslims in Iran are killing Muslims in Israel when they're really, they're at war with the Zionist portion of Israel. Now, I talked to Hillel Fuld, and I want to bring him in because he's in Israel and he can tell us what it's actually like on the ground there right now. And he's in Israel and he's got some on the ground reports. He can tell us exactly what's happening there. Hillel, we are hearing, of course, there are what I would call pundits on the halal right or the black-pilled right that are saying that Tel Aviv is being destroyed, Israel is being destroyed. Are the shops open? Are the restaurants open?
The amount of propaganda right now being spread on the internet about this war is unprecedented, and it's staggering how millions of people believe the biggest load of BS I've ever heard in my life. Netanyahu's fine. He's fine. He's not dead. He's totally fine. Tel Aviv is not burning. Jerusalem is not destroyed. Israel's fine. I just came back from the mall. There's not a seat to be had in the cafes. There's not a parking spot in the parking lot. Israelis are living life. Israel's as normal as it's ever been. And once in a blue moon, or sorry, not once in a blue moon, once in a few hours, we have a siren. We enter the bomb shelter. We all laugh. We all joke. We play music. We have a good time. We go out and we eat lunch.
I remember when I was down in Ashkelon one time and the siren went off and we were having lunch and we all ran from all the different restaurants into the one shelter. And even the dogs knew to run into the shelter. They came in there with us, the little street dogs, and then they went back out when it was over.
It's actually comical. I got to say, our enemies who are, posting GIFs and memes and everything on the internet. It's like, is that the best you can do? But they make fun of us. They're like, are you writing us from the shelter? Like, I'm supposed to be ashamed of the fact that my government cares about my safety and has put bomb shelters around Israel. Like, if Gaza would have cared about their people's safety, there'd be bomb shelters there too. And same thing with the IRGC. So by all means, make fun of me that I'm sitting in a bomb shelter. Like, what? We're good here. Everybody's living life. It's nonstop propaganda, IRGC propaganda. And if you need proof of that, if anybody has any doubt that this is Iranian Qatar money behind this propaganda, ask yourself, how is it that all of a sudden there's no Palestinian propaganda anymore? Nobody's talking about Gaza anymore. Why is that? I'll tell you why. Because the money that was funding that propaganda, the money that was funding the encampments and the T-shirts and the banners, all of that money is no longer being spent on Gaza. It's all going to IRGC right now. And that's why everyone's talking about IRGC, and all the Palestinian propaganda disappeared.
Well, I know you're not actively in the IDF now, but you are definitely on the front lines of the information battle space, which is, I think, the more important battle space right now. Obviously, by any metric, Israel is absolutely crushing it with this conflict, and Iran is being decimated. Meanwhile, Israel's lost, 15 people? That's bad. 16, 17 people, something like that.
Out of which 5 are Palestinian, by the way.
Right. So you could say the same thing in Israel that they're saying across the Gulf states, which is, doesn't Iran realize we're Muslim? You're killing Muslims here. And what do you think? Well, first of all, what's the sentiment among Israelis about continuing this war? Are they looking for an off-ramp? Is gas getting too expensive, or do they want to take it to the mat?
The IRGC did something impossible. They did something miraculous. They unified Israel. Everybody in this country is behind this war. There's nobody. I mean, obviously there are real extremists who aren't, but 99 or 98% of Israel supports Trump and supports Netanyahu in this war. And Israel's unified. So thank you very much, the IRGC.
What's going to be the situation in Israel once this actually does end, especially if it comes to a just end where the IRGC is no longer in charge and Iran becomes an ally rather than an enemy? What's going to be the net effect? If you're an investor looking at Israel, I mean, I would just imagine it's going to skyrocket. I've been investing in the Timothy Fund, which invests in Israel for that reason.
Yeah, I mean, Israel, this is what we do, by the way. This is our story. It's been our story, by the way, throughout our history, which is the more they persecute us, the more they terrorize us, the more we innovate, the more we deliver, the more we flourish, the more we thrive. It's always been the case. It's literally been the case since the Torah, since the Bible. In Egypt, the Torah literally says the more the Egyptians persecuted the Israelites, the more the Israelites flourished. That's our story. That continues to be our story. So not only has the IRGC, unified this country, but they've actually not only strengthened the country and the resilience of Israelis, they've strengthened Netanyahu, because Netanyahu, after this war is over, is going to be a celebrity after what we did to the IRGC. So again, a big thank you to the IRGC.
Well, the Assyrians, the Babylonians, all of those ancient cultures that oppressed the Israelites are no longer around. And so I would suggest that maybe some of the pundits that are calling for Israel's demise, think about what side they're on. God, right, I think, has made very clear that he blesses those who bless Israel and curses those who curse it.
You mentioned a few of these empires that disappeared, but the list is pretty extensive. I mean, you named a few, but let's not forget it started all the way back with ancient Egypt, which was the world's leading empire, literally the strongest empire in the world. And guess what happened to them? They came after the Jews and they died. And the Philistines and the Assyrians and the Babylonians and the Persians and the Greeks and the Romans and the Byzantines and the Crusaders and Spanish, Nazi, Soviet, and now Iran. So coming after the Jews is just a bad strategy.
I'd say so. Hillel, it's great to talk to you. I need to have you on for a full podcast sometime because I really enjoy our conversations. But thank you for coming on with us at short notice, and we'll see you again next time.
Great to see you, my friend. Take care.
You're muted, Dad. You need to unmute yourself.
I do that every time, don't I? Okay, that's Hillel Fueled coming to us from Israel. You heard there, the stores are open, the restaurants are open, the mall is full, and people are going about their daily lives and just stepping into the bomb shelter a few times a day. So I would imagine that life is not going on like that in Tehran. I would imagine that life is not going on like that in Bandar Abbas and in Qom and the other large cities around Iran. These places are being decimated. And just heard yesterday from a friend that's in a country that shall not be named, who escaped from Iran and became a Christian due to actually the Christian Broadcasting Network and their covert broadcasts into Iran. But he's saying the Iranians want this to continue. They're suffering. A lot of them don't have water, don't have power. They're still being oppressed as they try to move about, but they don't want it to stop. They're like, please, please keep up the pressure until this is over. Now, last but not least, before we get to our questions, I wanted to just play this clip of the end of Pete Hegseth's little briefing this morning, because I just love it. I know you're going to love what he had to say.
Every American who wants peace through strength. May Almighty God continue to bless our troops in this fight. And again, to the American people, please pray for them every day, on bended knee, with your family, in your schools, in your churches, in the name of Jesus Christ.
Oh, I love that. Fantastic. All right, we're going to get over to our questions. Let's run through these as fast as we can. We got a new YouTube member, Cynthia Cantrell. Thank you very much for doing that. And another one, Michelle Klotz. Thank you for being a new member. Did we win yet? Orange Man said this would be over in a couple of days. Well, we are winning, and I don't recall him saying it would be over in a couple of days. So I'd like to see the link to that quote. I heard this morning that we may have some help coming from some of our allies in Europe. Have you heard any news on this? We have seen like Mark Rutte from NATO making noises like, yes, this is in Europe's best interest. Europe needs to support the United States on this, but I haven't heard of anybody saying, okay, we're going to send our ships. Going back to that last guy who was saying that, Orange Man said this would be over in a couple of days. I distinctly remember the very first briefing the president gave when he announced this operation kicking off. He said, this is going to take some time. It's going to result in American casualties, and we have to be willing to pay the price. So I think you're wrong on that. Next. Will the UK flip-flop again before the end of this live? Yeah, probably. Good. Has anyone heard of the F-35 getting hit in Iran? Yeah, that's right. I meant to mention that earlier. There was an F-35 that made an emergency landing in, I think, Iraq. It was a neighboring country. I don't know which one. But it was apparently struck by some sort of anti-aircraft ground fire while over Iran in a mission. So apparently Iran still has some air defense capabilities. It's likely that because we're bombing day and night now, you can actually see the aircraft up there and they can shoot at those things they're not using sophisticated radars or anything like that. They're using machine guns, air defense machine guns to shoot at aircraft. And guy just got lucky. But no, other than the damage to the aircraft, there was no, loss of life or anything like that. Next. What's the diameter of the biggest missile used in this war? As far as I can tell, probably about 3 feet, about 36 inches in diameter, maybe a little larger than that. Good question. I would like to meet you Sunday. Would you be willing to meet me after your speech? If you're at the speech on Sunday, I'll definitely spend some time getting to know you. Love to meet hot zonians wherever I go. And if you want to come all the way to Woodville, Wisconsin, middle of flipping nowhere out there, then have at it. I'd love to meet you. Has anyone talked about their nuclear power plant can be used to make plutonium-239, which is weapons grade? Whose nuclear power plant are you talking about? And I haven't talked about that, so let's move on. Are you thinking about going to the Middle East to report on the war anytime soon? Just depends on what happens in Iran. I mean, I've seen the comments you guys are making in the YouTube channel, like, yeah, look, you don't make a good news anchor. You make a good field reporter. You need to get back out in the field. I've been home for a week, people. I've been to 15 countries already this year. Like, can I have a week? Just a week? Like, I got to leave today to go to, over the weekend to Wisconsin. I got to spend an entire week at home. Like, come on, man. So if Iran collapses, if the regime collapses and Iran opens up, I'm going into Iran. Other than that, don't have any plans at the moment. Next. Is the population being armed for an uprising? They are taking up arms. I have a video. I don't know where that video went, of a drive-by shooting. Let's see, there it is right there. This is a drive-by on a Basij checkpoint. So the Basij are the internal secret police, and they're the main arm of oppression around inside Iran. These are some Iranian patriots who are firing up one of these checkpoints with apparently a stolen AK-47. You hear a little bit of a return fire there. So we need to see a whole lot more of that. As I was saying on CBN this morning, I think that these A-10 Warthogs, which are right now hunting speedboats in the Strait of Hormuz, could be repurposed to assist the Iranian people. We give them a WhatsApp chat group to send coordinates of where bad people are, IRGC, Basij, whatever, and then we assist them with air power like the A-10 Warthog, because the Iranians really don't have anything that can stand toe-to-toe with that. Okay, next. If Islam is taking over the UK, won't they still have nuclear weapons since the UK does? I guess so. If Iran and China are moving freely through the strait, why is the USA too afraid to confiscate the ships after passing through? This is war, so I'd imagine only natural confiscate ships when needed. I've been saying that, the reason we're not confiscating those ships is because any oil that's getting through the Strait of Hormuz right now is helping keep the price of oil down a little bit. So it could be 150 a barrel if we were to stop those ships, and that'd be bad. So I think that's why, but it's a dilemma for sure. Okay. Why aren't the Arab countries striking back at Iran? The UAE has. I read something this morning that said Saudi Arabia may retaliate within hours. So I think we're going to see more of the Gulf countries striking back at Iran. But to do that, they have to deconflict with the United States. They got to talk to the U.S. and say, hey, we want to bomb this target, that target, whatever. We don't want the Gulf states just flying their planes in there and bombing anything, because we will probably shoot them down if that happens. We control the airspace right now. So they have to coordinate with us. I saw this morning, I believe, Saudi general saying basically, we're not angry, but if we get angry, you will pay. What in the world will it take to make them angry? that's I don't know, some bravado there, but I do believe that the Saudis, the Gulf states right now, they're content to let the United States and Israel sustain the cost of this campaign. And but their people, it's all a political decision. When the people in their electorate get mad enough, then they will strike back. Next. What exactly does finish the job mean? Well, yeah, in my opinion, it means the fall of the regime. But as I've stated before, they have minimalist goals, medium-term goals, and maximalist goals. We've already accomplished the minimalist goals. Now, the medium goals are to completely remove Iran's ability to strike at its neighbors, and that's going to take some time. How can we trust the Syrian president who's an ISIS, from a biblical perspective, gives me Antichrist vibes and Tim? Yeah, we've talked about that many times on this, especially when I was in Syria, but it's not germane to this conversation. So let's move on. Looking forward to you and Yair Pinto doing a special segment on the war in the future. Is there anything in the works? We do keep in touch, and we've done things in the past, but I don't have any plans to do anything with him in the future. I would be happy to. I just haven't planned anything yet. We do have a lot of good stuff coming, though. We've got some real good guests lined up. Do you know if we're using AI targeting to take out the IRGC's underground missile launchers, our AI would be able to launch virtually immediately after targets acquired? I don't think I do know that we are using AI in the targeting sequence, in the kill chain, but there has to be a human in the loop. So it could target them faster, find them faster, but it still has to pass it on to a human being who has to make the decision of whether or when to fire. Okay, next. Who's worse, Candace Owens or Tucker? I think they're both disgusting. Candace is probably worse in terms of her anti-Semitism, but Tucker is worse in terms of his being a prostitute or a prostitute for any country that's paying big money. Next. How is Iran still able to launch so many ballistic missiles toward Israel? I thought Israel and USA have total air dominance over Iran. Well, Iran is the size of Alaska. I don't know if you've ever been to Alaska, but Alaska is a very, very large state. And Iran is very extreme topography. There's lots of mountains, very steep, rocky mountains all throughout the country. And those Zagreb mountains up in the north, and et cetera, it's very easy to hide stuff in there. And we don't have, there does not exist in the American inventory enough air power to cover every square inch of Iran all the time. We have to kind of pick our battles. And so Iran still has the ability to strike because they've got stuff spread all over the country. We haven't got to all of it yet, but we are getting to it little by little. We're taking out their ability to strike, and they had planned for this for many years. It's not going well for them, but it's not over yet. Okay, next. I would think Hegseth and those that so would inform Trump of the problem being associated with this Russian oligarch. Well, yeah, it's not Hegseth's job to do that. I think maybe the CIA director should be doing that. Sounds like he's got a good head on his shoulders. I don't know. Next, what will the USA do with the Russian ships en route to Cuba with oil? Yeah, this is a dilemma that Russia is creating for the United States now. We've been putting the chokehold on Cuba, and it's working. They're about to crumble, and now Russia is sending them salvation by sending them oil. I don't think we're going to stop those Russian ships. We don't want to go directly up against Russian ships. We shouldn't be afraid to do that. But I mean, just understanding what I know about President Trump and his affinity for Russia, I don't think we're going to do anything about it. Next. Who's in charge of the IRGC now? Not the Ayatollah, not the new supreme leader. They have 31 commanders, 31 combatant commands across the country, and they're all operating on essentially dead hand orders, which means, if you don't hear anything from your command, from your higher, which would be the supreme leader, then attack everybody until you can no longer attack. That's their orders, and that's what they're carrying out. So you got 31 IRGC commanders that have to be taken out now all across the country. Praying blessings over your leadership program. Wish I could come see you speak in Wisconsin. Thank you, Cheryl. Appreciate that. Thanks for your reporting. Thank you, Vicky, for the $15. That's very nice. And Valkyrie became a new YouTube member. Thank you for that. Thank you, Brother Chuck and team from Rainy Goss. Thank you, Rainy. We got $9.99 from PC, pounds. Thank you very much. And $10 from Mark Jameson. I appreciate you. $9.99 from Trish's Arizona girl. Is that what that says? Thank you very much for your support. I appreciate you. And for our Leo the Lion, $19.99. Thank you so much for all of you who have donated. And folks, if you want to get some really cool Hot Zone merchandise like this shirt I'm wearing, you need to go over to the store, Holton News Store, right here. And this is what it looks like. We've got all sorts of products. You see, we got hats, we got mugs, we got t-shirts, we got hoodies, you name it, for men and women over here at the Holton News Store. So get your Holton News Store content right away. All right, that's all we got for today, folks. Thank you very much for watching the Hot Zone. I appreciate all of you. Please, please, please hit the like button, share this with your friends, and go over to chuckholton.com because, look, we are putting together a news outlet at chuckholton.com. And if you want to get deeper insights, if you want to get early access, if you want to get my very highly praised daily intel brief that comes out at 6:30 every morning, go over and become a supporter at chuckholton.com. And you can get all of that plus monthly phone calls with me, early access to some of my books and videos, etc. And you can be the first on the list to join us on one of our tours that we do several times a year around the globe. So there's all that over at chuckholton.com. Thank you to all of you who are supporters there, and we will see you next time.